I love how January often provides a space for reflection, a sort of unhurried contemplation of last year's scenes, for it does seem long. And it also provides an avenue to possibly strategize what's next. It's 2022, and we're using a few minutes of January 21 to reflect on what the Ministry of Culture did last year as we plan for this year. Following that, we'll experience the collaboration of farm, food, and hotel. This is your Jamaica Magazine, and an experience like none other awaits you. But let's check in with the news first.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Friday, January 21, 2022. Jamaica generated over $1 billion in export earnings for the January to September period of 2021. This outturn represents a 26.3% increase over the corresponding period in 2020. Director General of the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, Carol Coy, says the increase was mainly driven by higher exports of mineral fuels, which climbed by 96.8%. She was speaking recently at the agency's digital quarterly media briefing.
Earnings from domestic exports increased by 18.4% to $1 billion and accounted for 89.6% of total exports. Exports from the manufacture industry increased by 32.1%, due mainly to higher exports of refined petroleum products and food, beverages, and tobacco.
Earnings from mining and quarrying were 6.2% above the corresponding 9-month period in 2020 due to higher exports of alumina. Additionally, agricultural exports rose by 7%, largely resulting from higher outflows of coffee and yams. At the same time, Jamaica's import expenditure between January and September 2021 climbed to $4.25 billion. The Statistical Institute is also reporting that the country's unemployment rate fell to a record low of 7.1% for October 2021. According to Statin's labor force survey for the month, this is 3.7% points less than the corresponding period in 2020. Director General Carol Coy says the review period recorded 32.4% fewer unemployed persons than in October 2020.
The number of unemployed males and females declined by 36.2% and 29.4% respectively. Youth unemployment. The youth unemployment rate declined by 9.3 percentage points to 18.9% relative to October 2020.
The data shows that over 76,000 more persons were employed in October 2021, an increase of 6.6%.
These persons were engaged in economic activities for at least 1 hour during the September 19 to 25 reference week. Females recorded the larger increase in employment. The number of employed females grew by 8.5% to 568,600, while for employed males the increase was 5.1% to 676,200. There were increases across all age groups.
There were 766,500 fewer persons outside the labor force for the review period. The Ministry of Agriculture is taking steps to increase onion production from 20 to 150%, which is the targeted projection to meet local demand. Newly appointed Minister Pernell Charles Jr. made the disclosure while touring onion farms in Yallis, St. Thomas on Wednesday. He says a similar push to increase production of other crops is ongoing as the sector remains one of the pillars of sustainable economic growth. The sector recorded growth of 7.2% for the July to September quarter of 2021. Minister Charles Jr. is urging more persons to get involved.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, RADA, and all of our agencies are ready to provide the necessary technical support and expertise to give you what you need in terms of knowledge and understanding to do your best in farming.
Students and faculty of Lacovia High in St. Elizabeth will soon have the convenience of 2 new school buses to address their transportation needs. The Japanese government signed a grant agreement with the Education Ministry yesterday, providing $135,000 to purchase the buses from Toyota Jamaica. Education Minister Fable Williams says this should help ease the cost and safety issues for students traveling to and from the school.
And we know that students who live outside of Kingston and St. Andrew pay quite a bit for transportation, quite a lot. And so this is a welcome donation.
The vehicles are being provided as part of the ministry's expanded pilot school bus program and the Japanese government's grant assistance for grassroots human security projects. And finally, yesterday marked a historic first as Rear Admiral Antoinette Weems Gorman became the first female to head the Jamaica Defense Force, JDF. Rear Admiral Weems Gorman was presented with the instrument of appointment as Chief of Defense Staff in a virtual ceremony at King's House. She takes over the helm from Lieutenant General Rocky Meade and is the first female in the English-speaking Caribbean and the world to head the Army. Her career in the JDF spans 30 years, with achievements of being the most senior-ranking naval and female officer and the first and only female to attain a flag rank. The new Chief of Defense Staff gives her commitment to strategic and decisive leadership.
It is a reality that the JDF will continue to play a critical role in the national security apparatus of our country. My efforts in this regard will be anchored in the 5 pillars of force transformation, which is articulated in our Strategic Defense Review. These are capability development, human resource management, infrastructure, command and control. This will ensure that the force is fit for purpose and capable of effectively confronting current and future threats to Jamaica's security.
Head of Defense Prime Minister Andrew Holness expressed confidence in the appointment of Rear Admiral Weems Gorman.
I look forward to benefiting from her wise counsel on matters related to defense and security. The Rear Admiral's many years in the JDF Coast Guard has allowed her to treat significantly with issues relating to maritime security and the blue economy. She will therefore bring a unique perspective to our discussions and our efforts to strengthen our borders and prevent illicit inflows, to protect the lives and livelihoods of our coastal communities, and to ensure that Jamaica can derive sustainable benefit from our maritime resources.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Do you know what a disability is? A permanent loss of function in any part of your body is called a disability. Some people are born that way. Others get a disability because of an illness or an accident. This doesn't have to prevent you from living a full life. The Disabilities Act will protect your right to work, raise families, or do business like anyone else. Visit jcpdja.com. A message from the JCPD, an agency of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
Last year, significant cultural elements were remodeled, gender laws passed, and the entertainment and sporting industries received much-needed support. As we move forward, using the past as a guide, here are the hurdles the ministry jumped and claimed victory over in 2021.
What are we known for?
Creating the coolest pavilion with an artistic display of our culture on a global stage. Giving women and girls more rights by actively tackling sexual harassment. Cushioning the pandemic's financial blow to our entertainers.
And?
Well, we set our own speed limits on the track and even ran over COVID challenges without cleats.
And this means?
We're recovering even stronger together.
We're going to have to work this through. And no matter what noise is made out there, we're going to ensure it's done the right way.
creating financial support for entertainment and cultural practitioners.
$90 million was identified to help members of the entertainment, culture and creative industries hampered by the pandemic.
I am still in dialogue with the Minister of Finance to see how we can further increase funding for the sector as the needs are many.
New measures were crafted to guide the safe reopening of the entertainment sector.
The reopening will look and feel different because we have to be different to protect ourselves and each other.
Celebrations for Jamaica 59 went virtual, while the Accompong journey was facilitated.
And this handing over of the bus is a symbol of our appreciation, the government's appreciation, and the government's recognition and respect of the Accompong community.
A story of healing was written.
The Culture Minister opened the Rastafari Coral Gardens Elders Home, where survivors of the 1963 Coral Gardens massacre will enjoy a facility catering to their medical and social needs.
And legal steps were taken to safeguard brand Jamaica in the international marketplace.
Amendments to the Trademarks Act were approved in Parliament, placing restrictions on the use of the country's coat of arms, flag, emblems, national colors, map of the island, and the very name Jamaica in a trademark.
This provision is intended to deal with the problem where many so-called Jamaican products available across the world have no relationship at all with our island home.
A safe environment for men and women.
The Sexual Harassment Bill 2021 was passed, laying out provisions for dealing with this issue in the workplace, schools, correctional institutions, places of safety, nursing homes, medical and psychiatric facilities.
Today represents a significant milestone in our long journey to provide protection to many women and men who are suffering the harmful effects of sexual harassment.
A second government-run shelter for the victims of domestic abuse opened its doors.
It's a place of refuge and capacity building for the women seeking shelter and their children.
We are offering an opportunity to help that individual to acquire a skill, that individual to get employed and to stabilize her life so that she does not have to return to an abusive relationship.
Educational opportunities for adolescent mothers.
With $36 million pumped into a training and daycare center in St. Elizabeth to allow adolescent mothers to continue their education.
They get counseling, classes are conducted, and they are taken through that period where they have their babies.
And a $14 million modernized nursery.
I'm here in Mandeville at the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation, and I'm here today to cut the ribbon to signal the opening of the new daycare facility.
Support for sports.
The Athletes Assistance Program resumed.
We're also providing direct financial support in excess of $40 million Jamaican dollars to our athletes as they prepare for the Tokyo Olympic and Paralympics Games.
A mental health program was launched to help athletes better cope with the psychological challenges of the pandemic.
We saw the toll on these challenging times on our athletes and sought to provide them with support to get them in the best frame of mind as they prepare for the upcoming competitions.
In a one-year first, spectators were allowed at a sporting event as the island hosted its first football match since the start of the pandemic.
Sports in Jamaica is looking to slowly but surely turn the corner on a COVID-19 traveled road. Indeed, a journey.
And residents of Standpipe were given a newly renovated $13 million sports complex.
Indeed, it is anticipated that the space will encourage the young people and other members of the community to engage in sports and physical activity to improve their overall health.
And just like that, we've made a clean sweep of victories for the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport for the year 2021. And as we look forward,
Our mantra this year is better and stronger.
As government continues to strengthen the connection between what takes place on our farms, at the dinner table, and even in the hotels, here's Alex linking farm to tourism.
Many times we have so many things that we can't sell. We have, because sometimes all the farmers goes out and plant Irish potatoes, and it's too much. So what we do is just use the phone, same place in the field, get to them, and they try everything, and they know it. Before them, we only have spoilage. We can't sell. So no matter how it glut in the whole highland, they find a way to unload it.
Bye-bye farm produce glut. Alex is here to move farmers' produce onto the plates of visitors to our shores.
The Agri-Linkages Exchange Center, good afternoon.
It's not my...
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Wilson. What are you doing? Okay. So what do you have reaping now?
We have a portion of corn ready, you know.
Is that sweet corn? Okay, sir. Let me just add that to the database for you. How much corn are you reaping?
We have 12 dozen corn ready, you know.
What's the selling price? 120 per dozen?
So you can look the buyer for me anytime you're ready. You hear, boss?
Another problem, Mr. Willis. I'll post the information for you, and once the market is available, I'll give you a call and let you know. All right, Mr. Willis, thanks for calling.
As easy as that, farmers are reaping economic benefits through tourism. The Agri-Linkages Exchange is an electronic platform where buyers and sellers of agricultural produce meet. Currently, there are agro-brokers who manage the platform. They operate from the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, St. Andrew office. It's a collaboration between the Ministries of Tourism and Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries. The center has raked in more than $50 million in sales for approximately 400 farmers across the country.
This program is dedicated specifically to the farmers, and what we were trying to solve was the fact that a number of our hotel, especially our hotel purchasing personnel, had difficulty getting produce that was in season, out of season, or even where they were located. So you'll find that particular fruits that will be in abundance in the eastern end of the island never ever gets to the west, and vice versa. For example, mangoes. Mangoes are very abundant in the east. And again, the West would love to have some of the fruits that we have in abundance at one place. So the Agri-Linkages Exchange platforms would have been a link to ensure that both buyers and sellers meet. At this point, we have 55 hotels on it. We have 7 agro-processors. We have about 5 retail operators, but the retail are really large personnel. And each day is another day in which persons are added.
I was at a production and marketing meeting in my community where we were discussing glutton, where we can unload our produce. So one of the RADA extension officer recommended us to Alex. I just get my phone, get registered, and that's it. Since Alex, we have more in demand than supply. It's been so good for us, trust me.
There are farmers who might not be technologically savvy to actually go on the system themselves, so they'll call into the center and ask, and these agro-brokers will be able to put them on the system.
On a daily basis, I would say we get from maybe 20 calls per day or so, from farmers. A lot of the calls that we do get, surprisingly, are farmers who are new to agriculture. They are curious about what Alex is about. Persons are now realizing that technology, agriculture, and production can all mix.
We supply and deliver produce, fruits, vegetables to hotels and restaurants. It's about 10 hotels that we supply on a weekly basis. Hotels that we supply, it's from small to large hotels. We found out about the Alex Center through a farmer. It is a very good initiative.
On a daily basis, we probably make contact with 20-30 buyers on behalf of our farmers, and they themselves, the buyers do call the center. Buyers request a varied amount of quantity produce depending on what the usage is. If it's for agro-processing or export, the volumes will range from as small as a small agro-processor may need 80 pounds of sorrel or 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds, but then you have an exporter who will need 10,000 pounds of sweet potato, 15,000 pounds of pumpkin, 20,000 pounds of other produce. So the volumes vary depending on the usage. We walk with the farmers and we stay with them until the transaction is completed, until they're paid, until the goods are delivered.
Our hotels are interested in buying local produce. There's really no substitute for the produce that we actually produce here. If you were to import any of our grown provision, it wouldn't taste the same. And therefore, there's really no incentive for the hotels to be purchasing overseas. What we have not had from our local industry is exactly where it is and in what quantities. And Alex has been able to solve that mischief somewhat.
It's simple, man. Just get the phone or come down to the road where the office is, register with Alex, and that's it.
Before the agri-linkages exchange even became an idea, government was already making agriculture one of our key priorities. We now bring you one of government's efforts to make lands viable for production.
To provide jobs for persons, it lets me feel like, I'm really contributing to the economy of the country. It's just a good feeling. And to produce the quality products, to compete with the international market, and to produce goods that actually look much better than imported goods, it's a good feeling for me.
Agro Investment Corporation continues to scout for lands in Jamaica that are best suited for agricultural production through the National Land Agency and the Commission of Lands, and also with private enterprises. So wherever there is unused government lands or private lands, Agro Investment Corporation will profile these lands.
So by now, we should all be aware of the benefits of leasing lands from the government. But once you've leased the land, how do you maximize returns? Well, knowing the soil type is important. For instance, did you know that over in the Ebony Park Spring Plain Agro Park, the soil type impacts the kinds of crops that can be planted there?
Ebony Park Agro Park is about 1,100 acres, and likewise the Spring Plain, and that's roughly all the lands within there. There are areas of non-arable areas, but there are arable areas. Arable areas amount on the Ebony Park side to about 800 acres. There's a lot of different soil types, predominantly Bonegate, clay loam. Basically anything can grow here. Once it requires a pH of about 6.5 to about 7. There are pockets where the pH might fall to about 5.5, 5.8. So if there's a crop that needs to be having a lower pH, soil could be amended to facilitate that. But basically anything will grow.
So let's revisit our checklist. We've applied and submitted all the necessary documentations, including proof of our capacity to invest in the land. We've learned about soil types and pH balances in the soil. What's next after you've been approved?
They would assign you a plot number, or they'd give you a designated area to where you'd be assigned. I guess you'd view it to see maybe what you'd need to do
If it needs a bit of clearing, you might want to look at that, how you go about doing that. You'll be advised as to the best way to get that done. You might want to go to the NIC because our water is pressurized, and so the NIC supplies it. So a part of your contract would give you the ability to go to NIC with tenure of land, and then they would then come and put your meter on so that you get ready supply for water. We also offer tractor services to plow, harrow, farrow, and other activities that you might want, rotovate and so on for your lands. So you'll be able to do that. Once you do that, we could tell you of maybe different cycles, crop cycles, where you might want to plant, best time for certain crop. You might be able to go out of these seasons, but at least we'll be able to tell you that this crop does well in a particular season. The risk might be higher in another season, but so might be the returns. So you could get advice as to that. So local advice will be there ready for you.
Meet Henry Givens, a youth farmer who is a beneficiary of this initiative. He started out acquiring just 5 acres of land, and today he is up to 15. Givens plants various crops at different stages, including Scotch bonnet pepper, sweet potato, and Maruga red watermelons, as well as slicing and plummy tomatoes.
Leasing land from the government, it is actually beneficial, and at the point where I would actually want to lease more if available. You know, I am not employed otherwise, so it allows me to take care of my 2 babies, and it allows me to eat and survive. So it is something very beneficial, I would say. Life here at Ebony Park, it's twofold. It's good sometimes and sometimes it's challenging. One, persons around, some persons, they know what to do with their crops, for example, and they don't want to do it. So sometimes, we have a lot of pest and disease outbreak, and some persons just don't want to invest the funds or do what is right to actually, make the agro park much better and a much cleaner environment. And then, also, sometimes there's a major issue with the whole irrigation system. It costs a lot sometimes because even if you look into the pepper field, sun scalding is a result of a lack of water supply sometimes. But it's a blessing, there is not only negative because once you have irrigation, then without the irrigation, I couldn't do anything like this, none at all.
Farming can be an expensive venture, but it's also beneficial. As a youth farmer, the challenges may not even be financial.
Some older persons, because they're so, relatively young, they don't want to work with you because they said they don't want to work with a younger person. However, sometimes it's good to know that, for some persons that really can't afford to go into the farming as deep, that you can provide them with not only a job, but you can also assist them with technical advice to improve their smaller production that they do as well. My advice to younger farmers or investors is that they should not be discouraged or swayed from agriculture. It is something that can be beneficial, and it is a good way to make a good foundation for themselves and their families. So it's something that they should look into and be strong about it. That's the only way we can build our country.
We're just a few weeks in, and 2022 is filled with promises of better and brighter to come from our government. Here's one more sure promise. A newly packaged Jamaica Magazine will be here just for you tomorrow. But until then, visit our YouTube channel to relive today's experience and to also see some of our other shows, features, and news items. Also, visit our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more information. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.